Most people never think twice before pouring a drink. It could be a glass of cola after a meal, a warm cup of coffee in the morning, or even that energy drink that promises to boost your day. But what if some of these everyday beverages were quietly stealing something essential from your body? Something that holds you upright, keeps you strong, and protects you from one of the most common and devastating conditions of aging? Imagine this. Your bones, those silent pillars that carry you through life, are slowly being weakened not by time alone, but by choices that seem harmless. This story isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because once you understand how these common drinks affect your bones, you'll never look at your daily routine the same way again. Most of us associate weak bones with aging, genetics, or lack of exercise. We rarely think that what's in our cup could be a hidden culprit. Yet, every sip of certain drinks sets off a chemical chain reaction inside the body that draws calcium, the mineral your bones depend on, out of its rightful place. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over years, decades even. You don't feel it at first. You move normally, you walk, you bend, you lift. But slowly, quietly, something changes. Your bones become thinner. The framework that once supported you starts to lose its density. Then one day, a simple fall or even just a twist results in a fracture that shouldn't have happened. That's the moment when most people realize what's been happening all along. But let's start from the beginning, because understanding is the first step toward protection. Calcium is not just a mineral, it's a living component of your body's architecture. Your bones are not static. They're constantly being broken down and rebuilt in a process called remodeling. In your younger years, the rebuilding process outpaces the breakdown. But after your 40s and 50s, that balance begins to shift. The rebuilding slows and the breakdown speeds up. Now, add in drinks that interfere with calcium absorption, increase its excretion, or disrupt the hormones that regulate bone health. And you've got a perfect storm for bone loss. You see, your body is smart. It maintains calcium levels in your blood very tightly. If your blood calcium drops, your body will pull calcium from your bones to correct it. The problem is that certain drinks trigger this very response, forcing your body to borrow calcium from your skeleton to keep your blood chemistry stable. Over time, your bones pay the price. Think about something as common as soda. A single can contains phosphoric acid, which gives it that tangy bite. But phosphoric acid increases the phosphorus levels in your blood, and when phosphorus rises, calcium levels drop. Your body, in its attempt to balance the two, pulls calcium from your bones to even things out. This constant borrowing weakens your bone structure over time. Several large studies have shown that women who drink cola daily have significantly lower bone density, especially in the hips, a region prone to fractures later in life. It's not just the sugar or caffeine, it's the combination of chemicals that silently chip away at your strength. Now let's turn to another drink most people can't live without: coffee. Coffee isn't inherently bad. In fact, moderate consumption can have heart and brain benefits. But when it comes to bone health, the key is balance. Caffeine has a diuretic effect. It increases urine output, and with it, calcium loss. It also interferes with calcium absorption in the intestines. That means even if you're consuming calcium-rich foods, your body might not be absorbing them efficiently if your caffeine intake is too high. For people over 50, who already absorb less calcium naturally, this becomes a double burden. Imagine carefully stacking bricks to build a wall, but each time you place one, another is quietly removed from the base. That's what excessive caffeine does to your bones. There's another drink many believe to be healthy, yet it can also contribute to calcium depletion: certain plant-based milks. While almond or oat milk sound nutritious, not all brands are fortified with calcium or vitamin D. Some are heavily processed and contain additives that affect nutrient absorption. People often switch to these alternatives to avoid dairy, believing they're making a healthier choice. But without proper fortification, these beverages can lead to a calcium shortfall over time. The result: your body turns to its own reserves, your bones, to make up the difference. Then there's alcohol. Even moderate drinking can affect how your bones repair and regenerate. Alcohol interferes with the activity of osteoblasts, the cells responsible for building bone. It also disrupts the balance of hormones like estrogen and testosterone, both of which are crucial for maintaining bone density. And when combined with poor diet or low vitamin D levels, alcohol accelerates the process of bone weakening. Many people over 50 enjoy a nightly glass of wine or a few drinks on weekends without realizing that consistent intake, even in small amounts, has a compounding effect over the years. It's not about guilt, it's about understanding how even subtle habits shape the future of your health. But perhaps the most deceptive of all are those brightly colored energy drinks that claim to recharge your body. They often contain high levels of caffeine, sugar, and sometimes phosphoric or citric acid. These compounds, in combination, create an internal environment where calcium absorption is reduced and excretion is increased. Imagine your bones as a bank account. You're constantly making small withdrawals through these drinks without depositing enough back. Sooner or later, the balance runs low. Calcium isn't the only piece of the puzzle. To stay in your bones, calcium needs its partners: vitamin D, magnesium, and vitamin K2. These nutrients help calcium find its way to your bones, instead of accumulating in your arteries or being flushed out. But when your diet is dominated by processed drinks instead of water, milk, or nutrient-rich alternatives, these crucial vitamins often go missing too. The result is a body that's not just low on calcium, but also unable to use what's available effectively. You may wonder, why don't we feel this happening? Why isn't there a warning signal when calcium starts leaving our bones? The truth is, the body prioritizes survival over structure. It will always protect blood calcium levels first, because your heart, muscles, and nerves depend on it to function. Bone health is treated like a long-term investment. It can be compromised for years before symptoms appear. That's why osteoporosis is called a silent disease. You don't feel your bones thinning. You don't notice your spine subtly compressing or your posture changing. Until one day you do. That's what makes this topic so urgent yet so hopeful. Because if you're watching this, it means you care about your health enough to understand what's happening behind the scenes. Awareness is the key. It's never too late to make changes that protect your bones and rebuild strength. The human body is remarkably adaptive. Even after decades of loss, it can respond positively to better habits, better nutrition, and smarter choices. But before we reach that stage of rebuilding, it's crucial to know the enemy. The drinks that quietly erode the foundation of your body. Picture your bones as living cities under constant construction. Calcium is the cement, magnesium the scaffolding, vitamin D the sunlight that allows the work to continue. Now imagine what happens when certain drinks come in like a storm, washing away cement, rusting the scaffolding, and blocking the sunlight. Over time, the buildings weaken, cracks form, and eventually parts collapse. But unlike buildings, bones can rebuild if given the right materials and time. That's the beauty of human biology. It forgives, it adapts, it heals. Yet too often we make the same mistake. We think that a small drink can't make a big difference. It's just one soda, we tell ourselves. Just one more cup of coffee. But bones don't count time in days. They count habits in decades. What you drink every day shapes what your bones will look like 10 or 20 years from now. A single soda won't hurt you. But a soda every day for 20 years. That's like removing one small tile from a mosaic every morning. You won't see the gap until the pattern starts to fall apart. Science has long confirmed this connection. Studies from Harvard and Tufts universities have shown a consistent link between high soda consumption and lower bone mineral density, especially in postmenopausal women. The more cola they drank, the weaker their bones became. The same findings echoed across Europe and Asia. Different populations, same outcome. The reason is biochemical, not cultural. The phosphoric acid, caffeine, and sugar in these beverages create an internal environment hostile to calcium retention. And when that imbalance continues unchecked, the result is fragile bones, higher fracture risk, and slower healing. Even sparkling water, often seen as a harmless substitute for soda, can become an issue if flavored with acids and additives. The carbonation itself isn't the problem. It's the added citric acid or phosphates in many flavored versions. Over time, constant acid exposure can affect calcium absorption. If your diet is already low in calcium, this small detail can make a noticeable difference. Let's take a moment to visualize what bone loss actually looks like inside the body. Under a microscope, Healthy bone looks like a dense honeycomb structure. In osteoporosis, that honeycomb becomes porous, fragile, full of gaps. These tiny holes weaken the entire structure. When calcium is pulled out repeatedly due to certain dietary habits, that honeycomb slowly deteriorates. Your body can try to repair it, but without enough raw material, calcium, vitamin D, magnesium, it's like trying to patch a wall with no cement. This process doesn't just affect your risk of fracture, it changes how you move, how you breathe, even how you feel. Weak bones can alter posture, leading to back pain, fatigue, and even reduced lung capacity as the spine curves forward. Every sip of a calcium-draining drink contributes to this outcome, drop by drop, year after year. But there's something empowering in knowing this, because if the problem builds slowly, so can the solution. You can reverse this process, not instantly but steadily, by changing what fills your cup each day. Hydration is not just about quenching thirst, it's about nourishing your cells, your organs, your bones. The drinks you choose either protect your foundation or erode it. The choice is always yours. Before you feel discouraged, remember this: awareness always comes before healing. The truth about these drinks isn't meant to make you fearful, it's meant to wake you up. Because now that you know what's happening, you have the power to change it. In the next part of this journey, we'll look deeper into the science, how these beverages actually pull calcium out of your body, what happens chemically, and which habits accelerate or slow this process. But for now, just take this with you. The strength of your bones tomorrow depends on the choices you make today. Every sip matters. Every choice adds up. And protecting your bones starts not in a pharmacy, but in the glass you hold in your hand. Every human body tells a story, one that begins with strength and resilience but slowly shifts as the years pass. And while time inevitably changes us, it's not the years themselves that weaken our bones. It's what we unknowingly expose them to every day. What makes this even more deceptive is that these bone-depleting forces often come disguised as comfort, energy, or refreshment. They live in your morning coffee, your afternoon soda, your weekend glass of wine. And yet, few people ever stop to consider how these drinks shape the inner landscape of their bones. To understand the risk, we need to travel inside the body, into the bloodstream, the kidneys, and the very core of bone tissue itself. Imagine your bones not as static supports, but as dynamic factories. Every day, millions of microscopic workers, cells called osteoblasts, build new bone tissue, while another set, called osteoclasts, breaks down old or damaged material. In a healthy body, these teams operate in perfect balance. The destruction of old bone is immediately followed by the creation of new bone. But when this balance is disturbed, when breakdown exceeds rebuilding, your skeleton starts to lose ground. This is where certain common drinks quietly step in, tilting the scales in the wrong direction. Let's start with one of the most familiar, soda, especially cola-based drinks. It's not just the sugar that's harmful, it's the chemistry. Most sodas are loaded with phosphoric acid, a compound that gives them their tang and preserves their shelf life. But phosphoric acid creates an internal imbalance. Calcium and phosphorus work together to keep your bones strong, but they must exist in proper proportion. When phosphorus rises too high, as happens after drinking sodas, your body pulls calcium out of your bones to restore balance. It's like taking bricks from one wall to repair another. The structure suffers. Over time, this chronic borrowing leads to calcium depletion. Now imagine this happening day after day, year after year. Your bones lose a little density with each imbalance. You don't notice it because there's no immediate pain. You can still move, walk, lift. But deep inside, those microscopic workers can't keep up. Studies from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition and the Framingham Osteoporosis Study found a consistent pattern. People who drank cola regularly had lower bone mineral density than those who didn't. Even diet sodas, despite having no sugar, produced similar results. The culprit wasn't calories, it was chemistry. And it's not only phosphoric acid. Many sodas also contain caffeine, a stimulant that increases calcium loss through urine. Caffeine acts like a diuretic, speeding up kidney function. The more urine your body produces, the more calcium you flush out. For someone under 30, this might not matter much, But for people over 50, whose bodies already struggle to absorb and retain calcium, every lost milligram counts. The kidneys become less efficient with age, making calcium balance even more delicate. A habit that once seemed harmless in youth becomes a serious risk in maturity. Now think about coffee. It's comforting, familiar, even ritualistic. The smell alone can lift your spirits in the morning. But inside your body, caffeine stimulates the adrenal glands to release stress hormones like cortisol. When cortisol levels remain elevated, they interfere with calcium metabolism and bone formation. Long-term caffeine intake, especially above 400 milligrams per day, roughly 4 cups of coffee, has been linked with decreased bone density in multiple studies. In women over 50, particularly those with low calcium intake, this effect is magnified. It's important to remember that caffeine is not just in coffee, it's hidden in tea, soft drinks, energy beverages, and even some painkillers. That means your total intake may be far higher than you realize. Each dose subtly alters the balance of calcium in your system, pushing your body to pull from bone reserves. And when that process continues unchecked, the silent erosion begins. Let's pause for a moment and visualize what happens inside your bloodstream after you drink a highly caffeinated beverage. Within minutes, caffeine is absorbed through your stomach and small intestine, reaching its peak in about an hour. It stimulates your kidneys to increase urine production. This isn't just water leaving your system, it's also electrolytes, including calcium. At the same time, caffeine slightly reduces the efficiency of calcium absorption in the gut. You lose calcium at both ends, less going in, more going out. For someone over 50 who already absorbs less calcium due to lower stomach acid and hormonal changes, this dual loss creates a compounding problem. Your bones are like a savings account. When you're young, you deposit more than you withdraw. But after 50, the deposits slow down. If you keep withdrawing through caffeine, phosphoric acid, or alcohol, your account eventually runs dry. That's when osteoporosis steps in. And then there's alcohol, often underestimated in its effect on bone health. Alcohol interferes with the pancreas and liver, which play crucial roles in vitamin D activation. Without adequate vitamin D, your body cannot absorb calcium efficiently, no matter how much you consume. Alcohol also damages the osteoblasts, the very cells that build bone, and increases the activity of osteoclasts, which break bone down. Over time, this combination thins the structure of your skeleton. What's especially alarming is that this can happen even with moderate drinking. A few glasses of wine each week may not seem like much, but the effects accumulate. Alcohol also disrupts sleep and hormone balance, particularly estrogen and testosterone, both essential for maintaining bone density. After menopause, women lose the protective effects of estrogen. When alcohol suppresses what little remains, bone loss accelerates. In men, reduced testosterone leads to similar consequences. Meanwhile, the kidneys, already burdened with filtering caffeine, acids, and alcohol, must work harder to excrete waste. Calcium gets caught in this process. Instead of being used to strengthen your bones, it's filtered out in urine. This is one reason why long-term drinkers often develop both bone weakness and kidney stones. Calcium is being lost in all the wrong places. Another surprising culprit is energy drinks, which combine caffeine, sugar, phosphates, and acids into a single, potent cocktail. Their appeal lies in their promise of energy and focus. But what they deliver is often the opposite, a temporary surge followed by long-term depletion. High caffeine levels in energy drinks, sometimes double or triple that of coffee, lead to massive calcium excretion. The added phosphoric acid multiplies the damage, and the sugar spikes insulin, which indirectly lowers calcium retention by promoting magnesium loss. Even certain teas, though generally healthy, can contribute to bone loss when consumed excessively. Black tea and green tea both contain caffeine, though in smaller amounts than coffee. The difference lies in moderation. A few cups a day are harmless and even beneficial due to antioxidants, but 8 or 10 cups daily, combined with a low-calcium diet, may start to show negative effects. We must also talk about carbonated flavored waters, often seen as a healthy soda alternative. While plain sparkling water is harmless, Flavored versions often contain citric acid or phosphates for taste. These acids, when consumed frequently, can gradually affect the body's pH balance and calcium handling. The problem isn't carbonation itself, it's the additives that accompany it. You might be wondering, if the risk is so real, why don't doctors warn about it more often? The truth is, bone loss develops silently over decades. It's not a disease you can feel until it's advanced. Most people discover osteoporosis after a fracture, not before. And by then, decades of small daily choices have already set the stage. The fragility that appears at 70 often began with the drinks consumed at 40 or 50. Consider this. When you drink a can of cola, the acid and caffeine start to affect your calcium balance within hours. Your kidneys respond by excreting more calcium. If your diet doesn't replace it, your bones quietly step in to fill the gap. If you repeat that process hundreds or thousands of times over the years, it's not hard to imagine the cumulative toll. It's a slow theft, barely perceptible, until suddenly your balance shifts from strength to fragility. The most heartbreaking part is that the early stages of bone loss are invisible. There's no pain, no stiffness, no fatigue. You feel fine, maybe even great. You might still exercise, eat well, and maintain your weight. But inside, the scaffolding of your body is thinning. The honeycomb-like structure that gives your bones strength is becoming more porous. Eventually, something simple, bending, lifting, or even sneezing, can cause a fracture. That's how silent and insidious the process is. This is not meant to create fear, it's meant to create understanding. Because fear paralyzes, but awareness empowers. Once you recognize that your favorite drinks are part of this process, you can take action. You can choose moderation. You can make smarter swaps. You can strengthen your defenses before the damage sets in. Let's explore what happens when multiple calcium-stealing drinks are part of your daily routine. Morning coffee to wake up, a mid-morning soda for refreshment, an afternoon energy drink to power through fatigue, a glass of wine with dinner to unwind. Each seems small on its own, but together they form a pattern of depletion. Your body faces an almost constant stream of calcium-leaching compounds. Over time, this combination doesn't just weaken your bones, it alters your metabolism, your muscle strength, even your heart rhythm. That's because calcium isn't just for bones. It's vital for nerve signaling, muscle contraction, and heartbeat regulation. So when your calcium levels dip due to diet or drink habits, your body must draw from bones to keep the heart and nerves functioning properly. This survival mechanism ensures you stay alive, but at the cost of your skeletal strength. The people most at risk are those over 50, especially postmenopausal women, men with low testosterone, individuals on long-term medications like corticosteroids, or anyone with digestive issues that reduce nutrient absorption. But even healthy adults are not immune if their diets lack balance. And here's something most people overlook. When you drink acidic or caffeinated beverages, you rarely pair them with calcium-rich foods. Coffee is often consumed alone, soda between meals, alcohol after dinner. That means there's little calcium available in the digestive tract when these drinks arrive. If consumed with calcium-rich meals, their negative effects can be partially offset. But when consumed in isolation, they have free rein to interfere. One particularly striking study from the National Institutes of Health followed adults for over a decade and found that those who consumed more than 2 cola drinks per day had nearly double the risk of hip fractures. What's even more concerning is that this pattern persisted regardless of gender or body size. The mechanism was consistent: high phosphorus, high caffeine, low calcium absorption, chronic calcium loss. Think about the human body as a perfect equation. It always seeks balance. When acidity rises from diet or drink, your body neutralizes it using alkaline minerals, chiefly calcium, from your bones. So even if you're consuming enough calcium, constant acid load means your body keeps using that calcium to neutralize acid instead of building bone. This is called metabolic acidosis, and it's one of the lesser-known pathways through which diet affects bone health. Soda, alcohol, and excessive coffee all contribute to this hidden imbalance, and yet, even in the face of such risks, there's hope. Because unlike many age-related issues, bone health is one of the few that can be rebuilt. The process is slow, but it's possible. The first step is awareness, recognizing which drinks are taking more from you than they give. The second is action, replacing them with those that nourish rather than deplete. But before we explore solutions, it's crucial to understand the full scope of the damage, to see clearly what's at stake if nothing changes, because the real danger isn't just the loss of bone, it's the loss of independence. Fragile bones lead to falls, fractures, hospitalizations. A hip fracture after 70 can change the entire trajectory of a person's life. Mobility declines, confidence fades, even small movements become cautious, fearful. That's why protecting your bones isn't about vanity. It's about preserving freedom. Every sip, every habit, every small daily decision contributes to that outcome. And while these drinks might offer momentary comfort, they slowly trade away something irreplaceable, the strength to live fully. The risk may be silent, but it is not unstoppable. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into what happens at the cellular level when calcium is drained, how your body fights back, and what warning signs begin to appear long before fractures occur. Because once you understand the process from the inside out, you'll know exactly how to turn it around. Picture your bones not as lifeless objects, but as living, breathing structures that silently adapt to every movement, every step, every sip of what you drink. Inside them, billions of cells are constantly communicating, breaking down, rebuilding, reshaping. It's one of the most remarkable systems in the human body, a perfect balance between destruction and renewal. But when certain drinks quietly interfere with this delicate rhythm, the damage doesn't announce itself with pain or swelling. It builds slowly, invisibly. By the time you feel it, the architecture within you has already changed. This is the hidden story of what really happens when calcium is stolen from your bones. The moment you consume one of these calcium-draining drinks, soda, alcohol, energy beverages, excessive coffee, the body begins its chemical balancing act. Your bloodstream detects a change. Acidity increases, or phosphorus spikes, or calcium levels dip. To keep things stable, your body must neutralize that change. The fastest way to do that? Pull calcium from the bones and the body's largest calcium reservoir. It's like taking support beams from the foundation of your home to fix a crack in the wall. It solves the immediate problem, but weakens the structure. Over time, this process repeats itself so often that the foundation itself begins to crumble. In biological terms, that means your bones lose density. The mineral-rich scaffolding inside them becomes more porous. The outer shell, once dense and resilient, thins out. What was once a solid fortress becomes a fragile shell. Inside a healthy bone, the microscopic pattern looks like a honeycomb, tight, organized, and strong. But when calcium is repeatedly drained, that honeycomb starts to widen. Gaps appear. The walls thin. Under a microscope, it looks almost like termite damage in wood, fine, hollow tunnels spreading in all directions. You can't feel it happening, you can't see it on the outside, but the result is inevitable. Weaker bones, slower healing, and an increased risk of fracture from even the smallest falls. Now imagine how this process unfolds in real life. A woman in her 50s begins her morning with 2 cups of coffee. Midday, she drinks a can of Diet Cola. In the evening, she enjoys a glass of wine. Each of these habits seems harmless on its own, but inside her body, a pattern forms. Her calcium levels fluctuate throughout the day, falling slightly after each drink, forcing her body to pull reserves from her bones. Day after day, week after week, year after year, those small withdrawals add up. By the time she's 65, a bone density scan reveals early osteoporosis. There were no symptoms, no warning signs, just years of subtle imbalance. The same story happens with men. A man in his late 40s starts drinking energy drinks during long workdays. They help him focus, stay awake, and get through deadlines. But the caffeine, phosphates, and acidity in those drinks quietly pull calcium away from his skeleton. Combined with lower testosterone, which also affects bone formation, the damage accumulates faster than he realizes. By 60, he notices his posture changing, his back aching, and his height subtly reduced. What began as a habit for energy ended as a tax on his body's core strength. These are not exaggerations. They're reflections of what research has repeatedly shown. A 12-year study, published in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research, found that people with high soda consumption had significantly higher rates of hip and spine fractures, even when other factors were controlled. Another report in Osteoporosis International revealed that women who drank more than 3 caffeinated drinks per day had lower bone mineral density, particularly in the spine and pelvis, the regions most vulnerable to fracture in aging adults. But beyond numbers and statistics, let's explore the biology that makes it all happen. When your bloodstream becomes acidic, due to certain drinks, particularly sodas and alcohol, your body's buffering system activates. Calcium acts as a natural neutralizer for acid. It binds to the excess acid and helps your blood maintain a stable pH. But that calcium has to come from somewhere. Your bones serve as the supply depot. Once calcium leaves the bones, it circulates in the blood, does its job, and is eventually excreted through the kidneys. If the cycle repeats too often, your bones can't replenish what's lost quickly enough. Caffeine compounds the problem by increasing urinary calcium excretion. It tells the kidneys to flush out more calcium than usual. Even if you're eating calcium-rich foods, much of that mineral may leave your body before it ever strengthens your bones. This combination, reduced absorption, increased excretion, and acid neutralization, forms the trifecta of calcium loss. Over time, this imbalance begins to change how your body prioritizes resources. Because calcium is essential, not just for bone strength, but also for heart rhythm, muscle contraction, and nerve transmission, the body will always protect these functions first. Bones become the donor, giving up their minerals to keep the rest of you alive. It's a noble sacrifice, but one that comes at a cost. Inside the bones, osteoclasts, the cells that break down bone tissue, become more active when calcium levels are low. They dissolve the mineral matrix to release calcium into the bloodstream. Osteoblasts, the cells responsible for building bone, can't keep up, especially with aging. Hormonal shifts after 50 make this worse. Lower estrogen and testosterone slow bone rebuilding, while high cortisol from stress or poor sleep accelerates breakdown. Add to that the chemical effects of caffeine, alcohol, and soda, and you've got a perfect storm. Rapid bone loss at a time in life when recovery is naturally slower. The physical consequences reach far beyond the bones themselves. As bone density declines, your posture subtly changes. The vertebrae in your spine begin to compress, leading to height loss and a forward hunch known as kyphosis. This shift puts extra pressure on your lungs and digestive organs, making breathing and digestion less efficient. A condition that begins microscopically, calcium leaving your bones, ends up affecting your breathing, energy, and even your confidence. Many people describe the emotional toll of this realization as heavier than the physical one. The thought that a simple fall could lead to a fracture changes the way you move. You become more cautious, sometimes even fearful. Activities that once brought joy, hiking, dancing, gardening, begin to feel risky. But here's the truth. This outcome isn't inevitable. It's the result of unawareness, not fate. Once you see the mechanism behind it, you can reverse it. Another crucial layer to this story is how these drinks affect your gut, which plays a vital role in calcium absorption. Alcohol and caffeine can damage the lining of the intestines and alter gut bacteria, both of which reduce your ability to absorb minerals efficiently. Even if you're consuming enough calcium from food or supplements, your gut may no longer be capable of absorbing it optimally. This creates the illusion that your diet is healthy while your bones continue to weaken silently. There's also the hormonal side. Chronic intake of alcohol and caffeine affects the parathyroid hormone, PTH, the hormone responsible for regulating calcium levels in the blood. When calcium drops, PTH rises to signal the bones to release more calcium. In moderation, this is a normal response, but in chronic excess, PTH stays elevated too long, continuously stimulating bone breakdown. Over time, the hormonal rhythm that keeps your bones balanced becomes disrupted. And let's not forget about the kidneys, your body's filtration system. When calcium levels in the blood rise because of bone breakdown, the kidneys work harder to excrete it. Some of this calcium can crystallize, forming kidney stones. Others simply pass out of the body. Either way, calcium that should have strengthened your bones is lost forever. Imagine that. The calcium that once formed part of your spine or hips, ending up as sediment in your kidneys. That's how interconnected the body truly is. Every organ plays a role in maintaining equilibrium. When one system is overloaded, in this case by acidic, caffeinated or alcoholic drinks, others must compensate, often at a cost. This is why older adults are more vulnerable. After 50, bone turnover naturally slows, hormone levels decline, and kidney efficiency decreases. That means your margin for error narrows. What was once an occasional indulgence can now tip the balance toward long-term bone loss. The physical signs may appear subtle at first: slight back pain, fatigue, a sense of weakness when standing up, or a minor fracture that takes longer to heal than expected. But underneath, the structure of your bones is changing dramatically. Even a 5% reduction in bone mineral density can double the risk of fractures. The hips, wrists, and spine are especially vulnerable. Hip fractures, in particular, can lead to complications that affect independence and longevity. And yet, the damage is not just physical, it's emotional. The realization that something as simple as your daily coffee or soda contributed to your frailty can bring frustration or guilt. But guilt is useless here. Awareness is what matters. Because knowledge allows change, and the body remarkably can respond even after decades of neglect. What's most inspiring is that bone tissue is one of the few structures in the body capable of regeneration, even late in life. Studies show that people in their 70s and 80s can still gain bone density with the right nutrition and exercise. The same cellular mechanisms that cause bone loss can be redirected toward repair once the environment changes, once the calcium thieves are replaced by calcium allies. But before healing can begin, the truth must be seen clearly. Every glass of soda, every excessive coffee, every evening drink isn't just a beverage. It's a biochemical signal. It tells your body how to behave, whether to build or to break. When those signals accumulate over years, they shape your physical reality. Think of it like erosion. A single wave doesn't reshape the coastline, but thousands of waves, striking day after day, can turn cliffs into sand. The same happens inside your body. Every sip may seem small, but over time, the landscape of your bones changes. What was once dense and firm becomes thin and fragile. And yet, this same understanding holds the power to rebuild, because if habits can erode, habits can also restore. That's the heart of this story. Not fear, transformation. Not punishment, awareness. Because no matter your age, the body is waiting for you to make the shift, to stop draining what you've earned and start replenishing it. The bones that have carried you this far deserve that care. In the next part, we'll begin the transition, from damage to recovery, from depletion to renewal. You'll discover what to drink instead, how to restore calcium balance naturally, and which nutrients and habits help reverse the losses of time and habit. Because even if the past has been unkind to your bones, the future is still entirely in your hands. Once you understand what's been quietly happening inside your body, something changes. The fear that once felt paralyzing starts to turn into clarity. Because the moment you realize that the strength of your bones isn't lost, it's simply waiting to be rebuilt, everything becomes simpler, calmer, and within reach. The truth is, your body has been protecting you all along. It never meant to weaken your bones. It only responded to the signals it was given. The acidity, the caffeine, the constant imbalances, they were interpreted as emergencies. But now that you know, you can begin sending new signals. Signals of nourishment, balance, and restoration. Let's begin with something simple. Hydration. The most overlooked but powerful way to protect your bones is by drinking the right kind of fluids. Water may seem plain, but it's the foundation of bone renewal. Your bones are made up of 25% water, and every metabolic reaction that deposits calcium, magnesium, and collagen into bone tissue depends on proper hydration. When you replace acidic or caffeinated drinks with pure water, you immediately begin restoring internal balance. You give your kidneys a break. You allow your bloodstream to stay neutral instead of acidic. You let the calcium you consume stay where it belongs, inside your bones. But not all hydration is equal. The best water for bone health is mineral-rich, naturally alkaline water that provides trace amounts of magnesium, potassium, and calcium. These minerals work together to buffer acidity in the blood, preventing your body from drawing calcium out of your skeleton. If you can't access natural mineral water, you can mimic its effects by adding a small pinch of sea salt and a squeeze of lemon to your water. The lemon may sound acidic, but once metabolized, it has an alkalizing effect, helping restore pH balance. The next step is to rebuild your calcium intake wisely. Many people assume that calcium supplements alone will fix the problem, but that's not entirely true. Calcium needs partners to be absorbed and utilized correctly, specifically vitamin D, vitamin K2, and magnesium. Without them, calcium can end up in the wrong places, like arteries or joints, instead of your bones. Vitamin D acts like the gatekeeper. It helps your intestines absorb calcium from food. Vitamin K2 acts like the traffic controller. It directs calcium into your bones and prevents it from settling elsewhere. Magnesium is the enabler. It activates the enzymes that allow calcium to bond properly with collagen in bone tissue. You can think of it as a symphony. Calcium is the melody. But without the other instruments, the song doesn't make sense. That's why balance is everything. The best way to restore it is through food first, supplements second. Start with calcium-rich foods that are also easy for the body to absorb. Sardines and salmon with bones, plain yogurt, sesame seeds, almonds, tofu, and leafy greens like kale and bok choy are excellent choices. If you prefer plant-based options, choose fortified versions of plant milks or orange juice that include both calcium and vitamin D. The key is pairing calcium foods with a source of vitamin D, such as sunlight exposure or fatty fish, and magnesium from nuts, seeds, or legumes. It's not about eating perfectly every day. It's about creating a rhythm your body can rely on. A glass of water with lemon in the morning, a serving of yogurt or greens at lunch, and a handful of nuts or seeds in the evening. Each of these small habits sends a message to your body. Rebuild. Then there's movement. Nothing stimulates bone growth like the pull of gravity and muscle tension. Weight-bearing exercises like walking, dancing, stair climbing, or light strength training send direct signals to your bones to get stronger. Each step, each lift, tells your osteoblasts to get to work. They sense the strain and respond by depositing more minerals, thickening your bone matrix and improving density. This means that the solution isn't just found in what you drink or eat, it's in how you move through the world. One of the most profound discoveries in bone research is that movement itself is a nutrient. It feeds the bones through mechanical stimulation, much like water feeds plants. Without it, bones wither. With it, they thrive. And even if you've been sedentary for years, it's never too late to start. Gentle resistance exercises like squats, yoga, or resistance band routines can dramatically improve bone density in adults over 60. The key is consistency, not intensity. Your body responds to signals repeated daily, not to bursts of effort followed by inactivity. Of course, nutrition and exercise are only part of the solution. To truly reverse the damage, you must also repair the environment inside your body, the biochemical landscape that determines whether you're building or losing bone. That means reducing the consumption of drinks that acidify or deplete your system and replacing them with those that nourish and protect. If you love coffee, don't panic. You don't have to give it up entirely. Instead, limit it to 1 or 2 cups a day and drink it with food, preferably alongside a calcium-rich breakfast like yogurt or fortified oatmeal. The presence of calcium and protein slows caffeine's impact on calcium absorption and helps buffer its diuretic effect. And for every cup of coffee, make sure you drink an extra glass of water afterward to compensate for fluid loss. It's a simple, sustainable adjustment that allows you to keep your ritual without sacrificing your strength. If soda has been a daily habit, the best way to break it is through substitution, not deprivation. Start by replacing 1 soda per day with sparkling water infused with fresh fruit slices or cucumber. The bubbles satisfy the craving for fizz, while the natural flavors train your taste buds to appreciate real, clean refreshment again. Within weeks, your body begins to recalibrate. The cravings diminish, energy stabilizes, and your bones stop losing calcium at the same rapid rate. Alcohol requires more mindfulness, especially in midlife. A glass of wine occasionally can fit into a healthy lifestyle. But moderation is key. No more than 1 drink a day for women, 2 for men. Alcohol-free days during the week give your liver, hormones and bones a chance to reset. And whenever you drink, do it with a meal rich in protein and minerals. This slows the absorption of alcohol, reducing its impact on bone metabolism. If you've relied on energy drinks for focus or stamina, consider transitioning to alternatives that support your body rather than deplete it. Green tea offers a gentle lift without excessive caffeine, and it contains antioxidants called catechins that may actually help protect bone cells from oxidative damage. Herbal infusions like nettle, chamomile, and rooibos provide minerals and hydration while calming the nervous system, a vital component of bone health, since chronic stress releases cortisol, which promotes bone loss. Speaking of stress, it's one of the most underestimated enemies of bone strength. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, increases calcium excretion and suppresses bone formation. That's why the most effective bone strengthening plan includes not just what you eat or drink, but how you breathe, rest, and recover. Deep breathing, meditation, and good sleep are not luxuries. They're part of your prescription for stronger bones. During sleep, your body repairs tissue, releases growth hormones, and balances calcium metabolism. Skipping sleep means skipping restoration. This brings us to something beautiful: regeneration. The body's ability to rebuild is profound. Even after years of calcium loss, your skeleton can respond within months once you change the inputs. A study from the University of Connecticut showed that postmenopausal women who increased calcium intake, improved vitamin D levels, and incorporated weight-bearing exercise gained measurable bone density in just 6 months. That's how responsive the human body is. It listens and adapts when you give it what it needs. And what it needs most now is consistency. You don't need perfection, you need persistence. Every glass of mineral water, every serving of greens, every mindful walk tells your bones, you're safe now. You can rebuild. The cells respond by laying down new layers of calcium and collagen, like bricks and mortar repairing a wall. Within a year, those layers grow thicker and more resilient, and your risk of fractures begins to drop. Your habits also affect how calcium is distributed throughout your body. When you consume too much processed food, sugar, or alcohol, calcium can be deposited in arteries instead of bones. Vitamin K2 helps prevent this by guiding calcium into the skeletal system and out of soft tissues. Foods like natto, egg yolks, and fermented cheeses are excellent sources. If you don't eat those often, consider a supplement, but always in balance with vitamin D and magnesium. These 3 form the foundation of calcium intelligence in your body. Another often overlooked factor is sunlight. Just 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight exposure on your arms and face a few times a week can dramatically increase vitamin D levels, especially when combined with physical activity. When you walk outdoors, your bones receive a double benefit. Movement stimulates rebuilding, and sunlight fuels the process. If you live in an area with little sun exposure, talk to your doctor about vitamin D supplementation. It's one of the simplest, most effective ways to protect your bones after 50. Remember, reversing damage isn't about doing everything at once. It's about creating harmony in your habits. Replace one harmful drink at a time. Introduce one new positive habit each week. Celebrate small victories. Your body doesn't need perfection, it needs direction. Once you give it that, it knows exactly what to do. There's something deeply comforting in this realization, because it means that even if the past has been full of unintentional mistakes, years of sodas, coffees, and fast habits, it doesn't define your future. The calcium that left your bones can be restored. The density that thinned with time can be rebuilt. The vitality that felt lost can return. You simply have to give your body the tools, and it will do the rest. As you begin to replace the drinks that steal calcium with those that give it back, you'll notice more than just stronger bones. You'll feel calmer. Your digestion will improve, your energy will stabilize, your sleep will deepen. Because your bones are not isolated, they are part of your entire ecosystem. When they heal, everything heals a little. This is the phase of relief, not because the problem was small, but because the solution is real. It's practical, grounded, and within your reach. The human body is endlessly forgiving, and bone tissue in particular, is one of the most regenerative structures you possess. With each new day of smarter choices, you're not just preventing loss, you're creating gain. You're rewriting the story from silent decay to active renewal. In the next and final part, we'll move into empowerment, the mindset and ongoing practices that turn these changes into a lifelong defense system. Because the goal isn't just to stop the loss, it's to live strong, confident, and independent. No matter your age, the journey from awareness to recovery is almost complete. Now comes the part where you make it permanent. There comes a moment in every health journey when fear turns into strength, when the knowledge of what was once harming you no longer feels heavy, but empowering. That moment begins now, because understanding what steals calcium from your bones is only half the story. The other half is about how you take that knowledge and transform it into vitality, confidence, and control over your future. The human body, especially after 50, is not a fragile system destined for decline. It's a masterpiece of adaptation, capable of renewal when given the right conditions. And your bones, those silent keepers of your strength, are waiting for your next decision to shape their future. Think of this not as a health correction, but as a reclaiming. You're not just preventing osteoporosis, you're reclaiming balance, mobility, and freedom. Every time you choose a drink that nourishes instead of depletes, every time you step into the sunlight, every time you move with intention, you're sending your body a powerful message: I am building again. Let's imagine your day through this new lens. You wake up, and instead of rushing to coffee as your first act of survival, you start with a glass of water. Not just any water, cool, mineral-rich, hydrating water that signals your body that restoration is the priority. You drink it slowly, almost ceremoniously, feeling the way it clears away the fatigue from the night and awakens your cells. You still enjoy your morning coffee later, but now it's mindful, balanced, paired with food and followed by water. You've shifted from unconscious repetition to conscious nourishment. That small change, multiplied daily, begins to reshape your physiology. As the days pass, the subtle improvements begin to unfold. You wake up less stiff. Your energy no longer dips mid-afternoon. You stand a little taller, breathe a little deeper, and feel a little stronger. It's not magic. It's the natural response of a body that's finally being supported instead of drained. Calcium begins to stay where it belongs. Bone-building cells start to work in harmony again. You're not fighting against aging anymore. You're cooperating with it, guiding it, optimizing it. What's profound about bone regeneration is that it's cumulative. Every day you make the right choices, your body lays down microscopic layers of new mineral and collagen within your bone structure. You can't see it, but it's happening beneath the surface. Just as erosion once worked silently against you, restoration now works silently for you. In 6 months, the changes may begin to show on scans. In a year, your posture feels stronger. In 2 years, your risk of fracture drops significantly. And all of this begins with awareness, the same awareness you have now. To live this transformation fully, it's essential to create a new relationship with the choices you make. See every drink, every habit, every action as communication with your body. When you hydrate with pure water, you're saying, stay stable. When you choose herbal teas, you're saying, stay calm. When you nourish with foods that carry minerals and vitamins, you're saying, rebuild. The body listens, and it obeys. But empowerment also means learning to protect yourself from the hidden pressures that pull you back toward old patterns. Our culture often normalizes the very habits that weaken us. Coffee as a badge of productivity, soda as refreshment, alcohol as relaxation. These are social narratives that need rewriting. Because real energy doesn't come from caffeine, it comes from cells that are well oxygenated and nourished. Real refreshment doesn't come from carbonation, it comes from hydration. Real relaxation doesn't come from alcohol, it comes from balance, peace, and rest. You don't need to reject the world to protect your health, you simply need to lead it. Be the example of what it looks like to age with awareness, to care for your body without obsession, to live with intention. The people around you will notice, not because you preach, but because your presence changes. You'll move with more grace, more energy, more composure. That's what vitality looks like. It's quiet confidence born from alignment between your choices and your biology. Let's talk about what living in alignment with your bones truly means. It means respecting rhythm. Your bones are alive, and like any living structure, they respond to cycles of activity, rest, nutrition, and sunlight. Mornings are for gentle activation, hydration, movement, sunlight. Midday is for nourishment, calcium and protein intake, hydration, and moderate caffeine if desired. Evenings are for recovery, soothing drinks like chamomile, magnesium-rich foods, and time for rest. When you follow nature's rhythm, your body synchronizes with it. Hormones regulate themselves. Cortisol falls, melatonin rises, and bone building accelerates during sleep. Sleep, in fact, is one of the most overlooked allies of bone health. During deep sleep, the body releases growth hormone, the signal that tells your cells to regenerate tissue, including bone. Poor sleep or chronic insomnia interrupts this process, so even if your diet and exercise are perfect, neglecting rest undermines your progress. This is where your nighttime habits become sacred. Avoid caffeine after mid-afternoon. Replace evening alcohol with calming herbal tea. Create a dark, cool environment. Treat sleep as part of your health strategy, not an afterthought. Another part of empowerment is developing trust. Trust in your body's capacity to heal. Many people over 50 are conditioned to believe that loss is inevitable, loss of strength, of flexibility, of vitality. But biology tells a different story. Studies from universities in Finland, Canada, and the United States show that bone mass can increase at any age with the right combination of nutrition, physical load, and hormonal support. The rate may slow, but growth remains possible. Even small improvements in bone density can mean massive reductions in fracture risk. Trust also means releasing guilt. If you've spent decades consuming drinks that weren't ideal, it doesn't matter now. The damage doesn't define you. Your next choice does. Every new day is a clean slate for your bones. They don't hold grudges. They respond instantly to nourishment. The moment you provide what they need, they begin to rebuild. That's the beauty of living tissue. It never gives up on you. This new path isn't just about avoiding harm, it's about cultivating strength. When you take your first morning walk in the sunlight, you're not just exercising, you're charging your skeletal system. When you eat greens, nuts, and seeds, you're not just fueling your body, you're mineralizing your bones. When you take time to breathe deeply, to stretch, to sleep, you're telling your cells that it's safe to build again. Every moment of care is an act of defiance against fragility. And as your body responds, so does your mind. Because bone strength isn't just a physical condition, it's symbolic. It represents resilience, stability, and confidence. The same way bones anchor your body, belief anchors your will. The process of strengthening your bones becomes a mirror for strengthening your spirit. You realize that rebuilding yourself is possible at any age, in any season, no matter how much you've lost. That realization changes everything. This is what true empowerment looks like. Understanding that vitality isn't reserved for the young. It's earned through awareness. It's the quiet assurance that your body is still listening, still capable, still evolving. And once you experience that, fear begins to dissolve. You stop worrying about fragility and start celebrating strength. You move not out of fear of falling, but out of love for movement itself. You nourish yourself not out of anxiety, but out of gratitude for what your body still allows you to do. There's something profoundly spiritual about this phase of renewal. It's not just about the biology of calcium and vitamin D. It's about the philosophy of self-respect, because taking care of your bones isn't vanity, it's reverence for the life you've built upon them. These bones have carried you through every moment of your existence. They've held you upright through exhaustion, supported you through every challenge, and allowed you to embrace the people and moments that mattered most. To strengthen them now is to honor everything they've done for you. And from that place of gratitude, the journey forward becomes simple. You begin to choose not from fear, but from love. You drink water not because soda is bad, but because your bones deserve purity. You walk not because stillness is dangerous, but because your body was designed for movement. You rest not because you're tired, but because healing is sacred. These small mindset shifts transform maintenance into devotion. If there's one message to carry with you, it's this. Bone health is not a countdown. It's a dialogue. It's your body asking for cooperation, not perfection. Every choice is a sentence in that conversation. Some sentences will be strong, others will be softer, but together they create the story of your vitality. What matters most is that you keep speaking to your body in the language of care. So as you move forward, remember that empowerment is not a single act. It's a lifestyle. It's the way you hydrate, the way you move, the way you rest, the way you think. It's choosing awareness over habit, connection over convenience, intention over impulse. Each glass of water, each mindful meal, each deep breath is a declaration. I am rebuilding. You are not fragile. You are adaptable. You are not declining. You are transforming. The drinks that once weakened you no longer define you. Your awareness does, your choices do. And the strength you build from this point forward is yours to keep, bone by bone, cell by cell, day by day. As you close this chapter, take one final moment to thank your body for enduring, for adapting, for listening. Because the truth is, it's always been on your side. Now, with wisdom as your guide and intention as your tool, your bones will no longer be silent victims of habit. They will be testaments to your resilience, a living record of your decision to stay strong, balanced, and free. And as you drink your next glass of water, remember, every sip is a message of renewal, every breath a promise, every movement an act of strength. You've reclaimed your foundation. From this point on, every step you take will rest on bones that are not just stronger, but wiser.